Another is a very interesting series with how each iteration shows what exactly happened in spring and summer of 1998 for the Yomiyama North Middle School 3rd year class 3. Now another is a series that I really like, mainly because it's a Final Destination type of anime, because you know some of the crazy deaths that happen, and even when you look at the rest of the series, either the novel or the manga, there have always been certain differences that happen in this series. So in this video I want to talk about some of the differences between the three, between the manga, the anime, and the novel. They all do tell the same story, but at the same time each of them has something that's slightly different, and they all have some type of different pacing and some type of different style that they all go for. When it comes to the novel of course you get more detail and it's way more serious, where the anime it's more extreme. They're just like, yo, look at all these crazy deaths happening, because that one's very extreme. And then when it comes to the manga is somewhere in the middle, because yes, you do get a lot of information, but at the same time you don't get the extreme stuff that's from the anime, mainly because the manga is a very fast pace, so you get a lot of information. It's closer to the novel, but it's just like right in the middle, where yes, it still does have some of the extreme stuff, but at the same time it still goes closer to the novel, where it's trying to give you more information and more detail in a way. But yeah, let's just talk about some of the differences, because the anime, the manga, and the novel, they all do something very different. So let's just talk about all three of them and talk about some of the differences that they all have, and we're talking about some of the same things that all three of these do have in common. Now when it comes to the differences between the three, one of the main big things revolves around the character Zumi, mainly because her fate is different in all three of these. If you've seen the anime or read either the novel or the manga, you know exactly, like when it comes to Azumi, what her role really is where at first she doesn't really show up because like she's gone because she's been sick or something like that, but then once she shows up, like you see that she kind of does take charge. When it comes to the novel, she really doesn't have that big of a role besides some of the key moments, like, you know, confronting Mei, like when they're at the end, that type of things. But at the same time, in the novel, she actually gets killed off very crazy, because like she's the one that falls out the window and like snaps her neck and like breaks her back and all that, mainly because she was fighting with the innkeeper, and like that's like kind of vastly different than the other two, because in the other two she dies different ways. Like when it comes to the anime, you know, she dies from like the glass falling, and then when it comes to the manga, she actually survives and she even gets like a haircut. So when it comes to the fate of her, it is vastly different. And then also when you talk about the anime, she has a way bigger role in the anime, because one, she shows up early, and she's also one of the ones that's at the hospital, and also they try and throw like this love triangle type of thing in the anime between her, Mei, and the main character, because you know she ends up liking the main guy, so like there's kind of like this love triangle thing. Also you have a thing where she's talking about like how she saw him like a year ago and all that, so you have that too. So in the anime she just has a way bigger role, and like also it's just like a love interest that they add there. And also when it comes to the manga, she actually does get a bigger role, mainly because we get to see some of her backstory and like how exactly like her house is, and we get to see like how her mom is, and like even her brother, and we see like how her brother does like pass away and all that because of a certain situation. So we get a little bit more backstory on her, and she just has kind of like a bigger role. And like when it comes to like her and Mei's fight, it's not as like crazy as it was like of course in the anime. So that's one of the big key takeaways, is like the fate of Azumi, because the only one where she actually lives is the manga, which is very fascinating, because the novel she gets packed up, and in the anime she gets packed up, but the manga just made it, they were just like, you know what, we can keep her alive. Now another character I do have to talk about, because his role is vastly different when you compare them, and that is Cosmi. Because the thing is, in the anime they turn him very crazy, and he even dies in the anime, because like he goes around just packing people up at the very end when they're at that lodge and all that, where in the novel that doesn't really happen, where like, you know, he gets pushed by his one friend, and then eventually, you know, like he gets hurt and all that, but like they have like their little thing and like they're fine. But in the manga that does happen too, but he kind of gets pushed off a cliff instead of like pushed out the balcony, because that's what it was in the novel. He got pushed off the balcony. Even in the anime they show that too. So you have his role that's a little bit different. It's just in the anime they make it very extreme, where the manga and the novel, like he never goes on that killing spree. Now one of the other things that does separate all three of these is like when it comes to the deaths, because the deaths in the anime are ramped up by 1,000, because we're gonna see every death that happens, where in the novel, in the manga, and especially the manga you barely see any of the deaths, because it just seems like they cut out a lot of the deaths. Like you see the deaths that happen and people just don't really care, and especially when it comes to the final deaths in the lodge, you don't see any of those deaths at all, besides like when it comes to the main character's aunt. That's the only death you really see, like when it comes to the lodge, where every other one is basically like cut out for some reason. I don't know why they went with that, but they cut out everything. And also when it comes to the caretakers are not in the manga at all, like they don't exist, where in the novel and the anime you see the caretakers, and you see like how the caretakers actually like go crazy, especially like when it comes to the woman that's there, that old lady, she goes crazy. So but you don't have that in the manga, which I found was very interesting. So I was like, why exactly did they not have that in the manga? So when it comes to the anime is the only one that really just shows off all those deaths, like I was saying, especially in the final like arc when they're at that lodge in the forest. That goes really in detail with just showing all them different deaths, where the other two, the novel talks about them them, but like it doesn't really go into crazy detail like the way the anime does, because the anime just adds all these extra deaths and just makes them very extreme, like very crazy. And also when it comes to the anime is the only one that has that beach episode, because that's not in the novel and that's not in the manga at all. So that was just an anime original type of content, even though, you know, that one really doesn't make sense like that, especially when it was just thrown there, because like you have the guy that's from like 1983 that's from that class, and you have them getting close to them, and it's like, dog, no, that doesn't even happen. And it's like, thing is, they don't actually meet him like in the novel or in the manga. They just go through like a story that they hear from the one guy's sister. Now, one of the things I do like that the manga does is it actually shows us like little scenes that we never read about in the novel or saw in the anime. Like when it comes to the main character's mom, we actually get to see like actual detail of like what her mom looked like and his aunt like when they were younger. And we also do get a panel that shows May's mom crying, like when she finds out that May found out that like she's not her actual daughter, so like she's over here crying. We got that scene there, so we could actually see like how May's mom actually is, so that was pretty cool. But the manga, we get to see some of these scenes that we never saw in the anime, so that's pretty cool. That's one of the things I like. But yeah, for the most part, the differences are very subtle. Yes, there's little differences like with certain events that happen and then maybe showing certain events that happen, but for the most part, there's not really nothing really crazy when like you compare the three. But it's mainly just, you know, the anime goes Final Destination, the manga's more in the middle where you're getting that detail, but at the same time you're gonna have some of the crazy stuff happening, where the novel, you get every single detail and it's more serious, because the anime is not serious at all, and there's a lot of just funny moments. And the anime gives off that it's very comedic at times, because you have a lot of crazy funny deaths. I'm just saying, like you have the guy that has the heart attack, whereas like that does not happen like that at all. The guy has a heart attack like at home because he has a heart problem, not in the middle of when he's talking to his two classmates. And it's just like the deaths in the anime are just so goddamn wild when you compare it to like the other two. Like the deaths happen, but they never really add some comedy type of thing like the way the anime was, because the anime was ridiculous with some of that shit. And like when it comes to the teacher's death, I can't lie, the manga version kind of was a little bit crazier just for like one aspect, mainly because you have a student that has blood all over her face and body. She runs out into the hallway, and that scene was kind of very crazy. I'm like, yo, imagine if they would have had that scene in the anime, because that shit was kind of crazy though. Now when it comes to the things that all three of these have in common, from start to finish, it's all going to be the same, but you're going to have little things that are different. Like of course you're going to have the MC come to this town, and you're going to see that he becomes infatuated with May, and he wants to know who exactly is May. You're going to have some of the same key deaths that happen, like the girl that dies by the umbrella, the nurse that dies in the elevator, the teacher that offs himself. You're going to have all those that are vastly the same. There's just little differences that you have, but like all three of them are just telling the same story about like what exactly happened in 1998 for this middle school third year class, like what exactly happened there. So like you get the start to finish and all that, it's all basically the same, but you just have little subtle differences for the most part though. Now if I had to pick one to say which one is better between the three of them, I honestly enjoy all three of them, because like you get something different with each of them. But I will say, if you enjoyed the anime, I'll say most definitely read the novel, because the novel is really good, because like this is not a light novel. It don't got no pictures, nothing. This is a straight up novel, and you know this one's going to be vastly different because it's a novel, and you're going to get like more details, and like, you know, the way novels are usually structured, so it's vastly different than something like a light novel, you could say though. If you enjoy another, let me know how you feel about the series. If you've seen the anime, if you've read the novel or the manga, just let me know how you feel about it. If you own all these, just let me know how you feel about it. Also, I might be making a video at some point in the future about another 2001, since that does quote unquote take place after the anime, so I can, you know, make that at some point in the future though. But yeah, just let me know how do you feel about the another series though. But also the deaths are so goddamn crazy in the anime compared to the other two, which is so crazy because they went crazy with the anime compared to the other two. Especially if you read the novel and the manga, you know that the deaths in the anime were crazy and they are wilding with that shit. And also when it comes to the anime, you know that one scene when they're dancing in the middle of the classroom and all that because the main character is daydreaming? Just know that never happens in the manga or the novel at all. So yeah, they were wilding with some of the stuff they were doing in the anime. But yeah, if you enjoyed the video, why not like? If you didn't, you could dislike, subscribe, you really enjoyed. But just know I will be making a video on another 2001, like what exactly happened after the anime though. But thanks for watching. See you next video though. Bye.